Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Admin Dev Labs. This is going to be the video series, the long-awaited, long-talked-about video series where we go through Raylib, the game graphics library for the C, C++, and really it goes into a lot of various programming languages. You can see down here, oops, no you can't. You can see down here C Sharp, Go, Python, Ruby, Rust. I don't even know what this is. Oh, Lua. Nice. So Raylib's pretty cool, and it's kind of branched out. You can see it runs on all platform: Windows, Linux, Apple, FreeBSD, Raspberry Pi desktop, Android, HTML5. In fact, dude's running it on, if you go to the examples, it's just an HTML file. So he's actually running it on top of HTML, which is pretty cool. So what is Raylib? Raylib is a library for video games graphics development. I think they have a better way to enjoy video games programming. So I started exploring this because I watched a video of somebody building a video game in Go. Can't remember the name, but if I find it, I'll definitely include it or give a shout out to the video. And then I saw he was making, the same developer was making a project management application using Raylib. I thought that was the coolest thing. So really what I wanted to do was explore graphics development in a way that I've never messed with it before. So I've done a little bit of Qt in C++. I've done a little bit of GTK in C. And I wanted to really just try something a little different. And I got kind of hooked for a little while, but I started exploring other things. But I've wanted to show how kind of accessible this is on the Linux operating system. Because a lot of the stuff, you're using Unity or Unreal Engine. And I think it's targeted towards Windows and Visual Studio development. But with this, it's built with kind of the open source tool chain in mind. So if you go to the wiki, it'll give you an option for Linux and FreeBSD and Visual Studio. But right now, so the documentation is written for a Debian-based systems. You see it says apt, and then it's got the just all the things that are included on Debian or Ubuntu or Mint or whatever other Debian-based distribution. However, I have learned when kind of messing with this that on the non-Debian distros, Raylib is included in the package managers, and if it's not included in the package manager, what you can do is you can build it from source, which is down here. So yeah, it's pretty simple to build it from source, and it goes to the right directory. So on Arch Linux, it did not go here. It went to /usr/include, but I didn't see an issue with that. So just kind of make a note that it might not be in the local include. It might just be in USR include. That was noteworthy to me. I don't know why, but it might benefit you in the future as well. So you can see here that really right now I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to delete the binary, and I'm going to delete the object file. Cool. So now I just have the C file, the build script, and the empty object directory. And I'll do a clean build here in a second, but what I wanted to do is show kind of how easy it is to set up this build script. And a lot of people, if y'all have some pretty serious C experience, y'all are probably laughing at me because I'm sure there's billions of build scripts and make files out there that share this simplicity. But I thought it was cool. And another cool thing I kind of learned about set not that long ago. I learned about it in the context of pipe fail. And what set does is it allows kind of error handling or troubleshooting for your scripts. So this simple example uses the tac E, and that just means that if there's an error, the script will stop execution. And that's important because on typical Unix and Linux scripts, there is no error handling. So if line 2 fails, my script is going to run line 3 and line 4. Well, that's kind of silly because line 3 and 4 depend on line 2. So set E just prevents the script from continuing. And you'll see other examples too, like the common is EUXA. I've seen that a lot with the pipe fail. And what that'll do is it'll show you like what environment variables are initialized during the runtime. It'll show you like an output or maybe like a correct usage. It gives you a lot of flexibility to making scripts that are developer and user friendly. Down here, we just see that it's compiling. It's compiling the source, the main.c file, and then creating that object file. And then line 3, it's just linking that object file and creating the main binary. And it's got some arguments, it's got the W all, and then again, kind of just reiterating the C compiler. We include the Raylib. The P thread is interesting, so you can create applications or games that are multi-threaded. That's really important. And then I'm on X11 right now. I'm not on Wayland, so I had to include that. And then, to be honest, I don't remember what these other ones do, but I think you can look it up in the man pages. And then the fourth step is it just runs the executable. It runs the binary. So we will see this here in action. So if we just do build, and then if we look above at the tree, we see that there's only 2 files and the object directory is empty. So we run build and it runs through these steps. And what I really like about this too is it gives you this, maybe that's what those arguments do, is it creates like kind of an output or a log. But I do like this. Like it tells you the graphics driver, it tells you the graphics card you're running. It's pretty cool. It gives you a lot of information, and then it did throw the application on my primary monitor. So let me drag this over a little bit. And so yeah, this is just a basic example. You move the ball with the arrow keys, and you can see it does, multiple key input. I can move diagonally if I want. Right now there's no collision. Zoop. There's no bouncing. I am going to add that, just kind of make like a ping pong game at first, but that's this simple application. And you can find this on the raylib.com/examples. I changed the color, and I think I played with the font background a little bit. And then you can either X out of it, or if you hit escape, it does the same thing. And then you get the return code of the window closed successfully. So one of the things to look for if you run this build script, or if you just try to compile it by yourself, just see how it works, and you get an error message of begin draw not found, end draw not found. And basically, if every function you called, you get a message saying that it's not found. Again, please, if you're a C or C++ programmer, don't laugh at me. I'm just sharing my experiences. You're either not linking the header file correctly, or it's not in a directory, or it's not where it should be. So you will have to add some additional steps in the build file, or just move those files to your include directory, either /usr/include or /usr/local/include. That should resolve it for you. On Windows, I experienced that issue a lot more on Windows than I did on Linux. With Linux, it was pretty good about working out of the box, even whenever I compiled it from source. Another issue that you will want to look at is to make sure you have all of the software installed. So back to that browser, you can see that at the top it gave a recommendation of libraries to install. I don't know how dependent it is on these. I'm assuming since it's in the actual wiki and documentation, you will need to do this. Now going to Windows, it was pretty up to date. I recommend using the TCC executable, but yeah, so this is with Notepad. Kind of cool. This dude built this just using Notepad++ and the MinGW, the minimal GNU for Windows. So that was pretty cool. But man, I thought he had a link to Visual Studio. Yeah, so here it is. Okay, so yeah, if you're on Visual Studio and you're on Windows, you can follow these instructions. Change the configuration to 64-bit. Visual Studio, for me, it's still defaulted to the 32-bit. If you change it to 64-bit, you will not get errors, and then use the TCC executable. And it's just going to throw it in C:\Raylib. That's where that installation goes. By default, you can change it to whatever. Just be sure to reflect that whenever you go into Visual Studio to change all the settings. But yeah, that was the only issue I had, is whenever I was compiling it, I couldn't get it figured out. And then the DLL will not get copied. You will have to create a script in Visual Studio to copy that file. And that's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just a little xcopy command. But yeah, so this is pretty much the steps. So this is one person, from my understanding, and he wrote it with 2 tools. I thought it was really cool, and I've really enjoyed kind of messing with it and digging at it. And then this is just, like I said, a little basic example, just kind of demonstrate, not necessarily the programming side of it, just more the build side of it, because that took me a minute just kind of understand. In fact, I closed out of the browser. Damn the man. But if you look at their build instructions, they have a lot more steps. And I think that's just because the way they set up their Linux installation, it wasn't working. It wasn't like in the native paths. I don't know. They were using the opt directory, and I only throw my Java garbage in opt usually, or my JetBrains IDEs. But I get it. The dude built it on Windows, so he just might... he might have had his own special way of doing things on Linux. Nothing against that. It's just, for me, it was easier to build it from source and just use it under the regular old include directory. But that about does it for this video. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. And next time I'm going to go over Clojure and Emacs, the ultimate developer combination. Hopefully you guys are into that. I'm going to get into a little bit of web dev stuff, but I do want to revisit the graphic stuff, and I want to get back into kind of why I started this whole podcast, which is to get into embedded programming and C and Unix, glorious BSD, or free BSD, I guess. But I don't know. I still have an affinity towards Linux systems, obviously, because that's what I'm running this on. So I definitely want to explore that deeper in the future. But thanks for hanging out. Let me know if you got any questions, comments, or feedback. You can go to Chris or email chris@admindev.tech. That's me. Or you can hit up forum.admindev.tech. We got a few technical threads floating around, but we got some off-topic, I guess, stuff too, like movies, TV shows, things like that. You can also jump into the episode threads and comments on there if you want. But thanks for hanging out. Y'all have a good one.